Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're digging into one of the most powerful, yet kind of invisible, forces that basically runs our entire modern world. We're talking about the philosophy of open source. So yeah, let's just dive right in.
So let me just start by asking you a question. What's the one thing that connects, say, 85% of all smartphones, most of the internet itself, and the world's biggest encyclopedia? Think about it for a second. The answer is, well, it's probably not what you're thinking.
Because it's not some giant corporation. It's not a government. Nope. It's a massive, global, collaborative project built and kept alive mostly by a huge network of volunteers. And that is the world of open source.
And that gets us right into our first section, the invisible revolution. See, open source isn't just a thing you can buy. It's this huge ecosystem, a totally different way of thinking and building things that, honestly, most of us are part of every single day without even knowing it. I mean, chances are you're using open source right this second. Is your phone an Android? Well, that's built on Linux, which is open source. The websites you're browsing, a huge chunk of them are powered by something called Apache. Even a browser like Firefox is built from the ground up on these open principles. And of course, there's Wikipedia. The source material calls it being knowledge analog to open source. It's the same idea, a massive shared pool of information for everyone. But to really get what open source is all about, we have to go back to its roots, to its philosophy, because it was really born out of this major clash of ideas about what software, and maybe even knowledge itself, is supposed to be.
And wow, this slide just lays it out perfectly, right? You've got these two totally different worlds. Over here, you have proprietary systems, which are all about enclosure. The whole point is to control everything, to keep the knowledge secret, and to basically treat you, the user, as just a consumer. But then you have open systems, and the philosophy there is the complete opposite, openness. The goal is all about sharing, reciprocity. Knowledge isn't a secret, it's a shared commons. And you're not just a consumer, you could actually be a co-creator.
So this big split really kicked off with what's called the free software movement. A guy named Richard Stallman started it, and for him, this was a moral crusade. It wasn't about free as in price, it was about free as in liberty. And it all came down to these 4 essential freedoms for the user. The freedom to run the program however you want, to study how it actually works, to share it with your friends, and to change it to make it do what you need. So a little later, a more, let's say, pragmatic group came along, the Open Source Initiative, or OSI. They loved the ideas of free software, but they pitched it differently. They focused on the practical upsides. They basically said, hey, a development model that's transparent and collaborative, it just makes better software. It's higher quality, it's more reliable. The source material calls this epistemic legitimacy. Basically, it's better because it's built by everyone, by our collective brainpower. So how does that collective brainpower actually work in practice? Well, this brings us to a really brilliant metaphor that just perfectly explains the how of open source, the Cathedral and the Bazaar. And this quote right here, this is the whole game. It's often called Linus's Law, after Linus Torvalds, the guy who created Linux. And the idea is so simple but so powerful. If you have enough people looking at a piece of code, any problem, any bug, is going to be obvious to someone. It'll be found and it'll be fixed. It's the core belief that holds this whole thing up. All right, so first, let's talk about the cathedral model. This is the old school, traditional way of doing things. I want you to picture a huge, grand cathedral being built over like 100 years by a small, secretive group of master architects. They have a single master plan, it's all very hierarchical, and nobody sees anything until the big, grand unveiling at the very end. Now, let's compare that to the Bazaar model. This is the open source way. Forget the quiet cathedral. Picture a loud, bustling, even chaotic open-air market. There's no one in charge, no central plan. You've got tons of different people all working on their own things at the same time, shouting ideas back and forth. It looks like a mess, right? But out of that chaos comes something incredibly resilient and constantly evolving. Okay, so we've covered the why and the how. But what about the who and the where? I mean, this chaotic bazaar isn't just an abstract idea. It's a real, living ecosystem with its own tools and its own infrastructure. And at the absolute heart of this ecosystem is something called the repository. The source material has these great names for it, like the digital agora, the town square, or the archival brain of the project. A place like GitHub is a perfect example. It's where all the code lives, where every single little change is recorded forever, and where all the collaboration actually happens. It's like the project's living memory. So what's fueling this whole engine? It's people. It's a global network of volunteers. And here's the really wild part. They're not doing it for a paycheck. The source suggests they're driven by other things: the challenge of learning something new, building a name for themselves in the community, and, maybe most importantly, a deep shared belief in the project and its mission.
Okay, and this is where it all starts to click into place. Because when we zoom all the way out, we start to see that open source isn't just a way to build software. It's like a blueprint. It's a philosophy for building almost anything in our world today. This is how we start to see that bigger picture. The source material calls this a map of meaning, and it's basically showing us that open source has created a whole new philosophical infrastructure, a new set of blueprints for how we can work together and create things in a digital world. So first, think of the source code itself as our cultural genome. It's like the fundamental DNA of our digital world. Anyone can look at it, anyone can change it, anyone can copy it. It's the basic logic of our culture just laid out for everyone to see and learn from. And if the code is the genome, then the license, yeah, that big wall of legal text you always just scroll past, that's the genetic code of collaboration. It's not just boring rules, it's the inherited set of instructions that dictates exactly how the project can grow, how it can be shared, and how other people can build on top of it. It's super important. And this last piece is just brilliant. Radical transparency, the fact that everything is out in the open for everyone to see, acts as the system's immunological defense. It's just like all those eyeballs finding bugs in the code. When everything is visible, the community can easily spot errors or bad actors or even corruption. It lets you build this incredible system based on distributed trust. Which really leaves us with this one final massive question. This model, this open, transparent, collaborative way of building things, completely revolutionized software and built the foundation of our digital lives. So, if it can do that for software, what could it rebuild next? Thanks so much for tuning in.